Good evening, folks, and thank you for continuing with us as we cover one of the most exciting long walks in over a decade. And we are just barely past the halfway mark with 47 competitors still ambling about on the asphalt. I'm your host, Bobby Thompson, and the spectators are still reeling from the most recently punched ticket, that of Hank Olson, who had the audacity to confront the soldiers on the half-track. The rest of the walkers, though, have returned their attention to their own weary footsteps. Number 85, Scramm, has turned into a gambler's nightmare. As we've often mentioned, he began this event as the odds-on favorite, according to just about every bookie in Vegas. But now, with his temperature flaring, it seems some sort of road virus has him on the ropes. He's still managing to maintain the 4-mile-an-hour pace, but he seems bewildered, and he's confusing a lot of the other walkers around him as he begins to gibber nonsense. Edwin Scramm, hailing from Arizona, is the only walker who has a wife back home, and she's got to be worried about becoming a very young widow in the not-too-distant future, and a pregnant one at that. But for now, we are keeping our fingers crossed for the whole Scramm family. Thoughts and prayers. Scramm is not the only one talking to himself. Number 93, Stebbins, has been having a lively one-man conversation for over 12 hours now. And the ones who are still conversing with one another are having a difficult time remaining civil. For example, it looks like number 61, McVries, has taken offense to something number 47, Garraty, has said, because yet again he's distancing himself from the lad. Which is strange considering these two have spared each other's lives on several occasions. Some folks on the sidelines are calling it a lover's spat. However, some walkers remain chivalrous. Number 46, Gallant, is living up to his name by helping along Little Fritz, number 42. The young man's stomach cramps have worsened in the last hour, and number 42 is hunched over, hanging on to Gallant's sleeve. And there have been no calls of interference because Gallant is allowing this Little Fritz to attempt to walk off not just one, but 2 warnings. But you know what's not nice, folks? We've spent days watching these valiant walkers, and you know what? I haven't even finished introducing you to everyone. For example, we haven't even mentioned number 83, Wilbur Sackett. For his entrance exam, he just wrote the sentence, "I love the Major," over and over. And that alone earned him a spot. And then there's number 15, Jerry Fernhill, a high school senior from Massachusetts. So you can bet your boots this young man is hoping to make it all the way to Boston to have the home field advantage. And here's a story that will melt your heart. Number 67 is Alvin Mueller. He's 16 years old and was recently diagnosed with leukemia. And since the doctors say he doesn't have long for this world, he's taking his shot here at the long walk. And if he wins, he plans to use the ultimate prize to buy a new house for his mom and his 3 little sisters. I'm sure we all hope he makes it for the sake of those little girls, but even if he doesn't, I hope his family knows that Big Brother will always be watching. The crowd seems anxious right now. You know, it wasn't that long ago that a record number of bullets finally took out Olson, but the fans are restless for more action. And some of our pesky spectators have been lighting firecrackers. Number 5, Barkovitch, is now walking directly behind McVries, number 61. These two rivals have sworn to outwalk one another. For some contestants, or should I say combatants, hate is the primary motivation. We've got a final warning delivered to number 42, whose feet are dragging now, Looks like number 42 was hoping to find the answer to everything in that of Gallant, number 46, who himself has received his first warning. And now the usually zenful Mr. Gallant is looking a little panicked. He does not want Fritz clinging onto him anymore. All signs of altruism are evaporating as Gallant shakes off the boy, and Fritz stumbles. He loses his grip. Gallant is now speedwalking ahead, and he does not look back, and Fritz is calling the young man's name. And that is a punch ticket for number 42. Bullet into the back and out the front. And Fritz has fallen to the pavement. Still alive, he calls for his friend one last time, but his friend has his eyes forward. 46 walkers remain, and the crowd is cheering as the soldiers move away the remains of young Fritz. Many of the fans are chanting Garraty's name once more. Ever the hometown favorite, but he is practically sleepwalking and barely waves back. Very half-hearted, but he keeps on trucking. And just as the boys are entering the outskirts of Old Town, Maine, it looks like it's time for a commercial break. Have you recently become a grotesque portal for an interdimensional alien species? And have you traveled 38 million miles across the solar system to orbit the planet Venus and awaken an ancient alien species that used your physical body as a doorway into a Lovecraftian world? Have you crash-landed on the planet Earth only to suffer rocket-related injuries resulting in a severe disability? Have you experienced itchiness, a rash, intense skin irritation, followed by the emergence of eyes growing out of the palm of your hand? Have those eyes induced feelings of stress, negative thoughts, cosmic horror? And did the malevolent presence within those eyes commandeer your physical body to harm or attack your friends, loved ones, or local beachcombers? If so, you may be entitled to compensation. Therefore, contact the law offices of William Halleck at Three Brothers Associates. Call now at 444-444-4444, or as we like to say, I. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, just in time to welcome you to May 3rd. It is just 4 minutes past midnight, and the boys are just beginning to enter the spectacle of Old Town. This is the biggest crowd yet, and the police can barely hold back this Dionysian frenzy. You know, I haven't seen it this wild here since back when I was a lowly intern. That was the year local hero Reggie Cotter became the only walker from Maine to win, at least so far. But you can be sure that if these adoring fans get their wish, Go-Go Raymond Garraty would follow in the footsteps of Reggie the Legend Cotter. And now that I think about it, Garraty probably doesn't want to follow all of the footsteps of Mr. Cotter. I'm sure all you Long Walk history buffs already know that during that fateful competition, Reggie Cotter suffered a hemorrhage and completed the walk with only one good eye. He won the ultimate prize, but a few weeks later, he succumbed to brain damage and departed this world a champion. This is Old Town's biggest event of the year, in no small part because this is where, traditionally, the Major's soldiers present a 400-gun salute. And we hope that tradition will continue tonight, when the boys finish making their way through this joyful community. Some of the walkers seem reinvigorated by the presence of the masses. Collie Parker, number 72, is doing his usual shtick of smiling and waving while spewing profanity and insults at the crowd. The two clowns of the pavement, Pastor and Pearson, are cracking jokes to each other as they wave at the spectators. And Abraham and Baker seem to be conspiring with McVries about something. McVries is nodding and smiling and now carrying on some information to the other walkers. Scramm, number 85, seems bewildered by the bright sodium lights. It's as though he keeps thinking that he sees his wife. You can see on his lips he keeps repeating the name Kathy. The Mota brothers, who have been leading the procession for almost the entirety of this competition, are now being outpaced by number 78, Harold Quince. He's been part of the vanguard off and on, but now he commands a lead. And Quince gets to have the first glimpse of the color guard that is waiting for the major's signal as the procession takes the exit ramp onto Interstate 95. Oh, and here's the major, folks, in all of his masculine glory.
Honor guard, attention, port arms, prepare to fire. Ready, aim, fire. Ready, aim, fire. Ready, aim, fire.
A fitting tribute to those brave young... Oh, what's this? It seems the walkers are forming ranks of their own, marching in rows, apparently to show a sign of respect to the major and his troops, and it looks like McVries is the ringleader. Oh, a collective raspberry. Ah, youth. Well, when most of your culture comes from comic books and mad magazines, what else can we expect, right, folks? The major departs, driving away in his Jeep, disappearing into the night. The boys, all 46 of them, are now on the turnpike, which has 4 lanes here to give themselves some distance from the madding crowd. With Old Town behind us, the next large city on our route is Augusta, about 85 miles away, or about 21 hours of walking, if you want to look at it that way. And now that the crowds are waning, Harold Quince is moving back now, his showboat moment apparently over and done with, and the Hopi Indian brothers, with their cool leather jackets, return to the lead. Oh, but now they are joined by Collie Parker, who, as we've noted, seems like he's becoming more sociable through this ordeal. You know, we can never predict what sort of personality transformation will occur on the road. Number 75, Pillsbury, a bit of a doughboy, if you pardon the pun, has received a second warning. There doesn't appear to be anything majorly wrong, except that he just happens to be running out of steam. I can imagine that there must be 46 stomachs rumbling out there, but we still have 7 hours until breakfast is served, with yet another round of ration belts. Ooh, there's a sudden move from number 44, Fulton. Oh, wow! Oh, it looks like he fell asleep while walking, tripped, but managed to somersault right back up. It says on his application that he has had 4 years of tumbling experience, and I guess that gymnastics background has paid off. Oh, that woke him up for sure. He's got a spring in his step. He's laughing to the others, glad to still be not just awake, but alive. But you know who doesn't look happy right now? Pillsbury. Number 75 has gotten his 3rd warning. Pillsbury looks behind him, sees the guns from the half-track trained on his backside. He's attempting to run now. But even that looks like he's moving in slow motion. If he can't reach that 4-mile-an-hour pace... Nope, that is it for number 75. That blast has knocked him to the pavement. And it gets a smattering of applause for the few people who have made it this far outside of Old Town. Now you can see others looking around them, wishing, of course, that there were fewer competitors remaining. And as they do the math, their faces sour as it becomes clear that they still have a long way to go. But for those of us watching, that means that we have all the more opportunities to get to know these lads. For example, this is the first time that I've noticed number 69, Mikey Odette. He's walking with a bit of a limp, but still keeping up a good pace, and not a single warning so far. What's interesting about Odette is that you can say that the long walk is becoming part of his family's tradition. About 20 years ago, in the early days of this competition, Mikey's uncle, Brian Michael Odette, made it to that most frustrating of positions, 2nd place, in an amazing long walk. And now, number 69 is attempting to claim that prize that was within his uncle's grasp those many years ago. Further down the procession, there's a lot of flash bulbs going off. Let's see what all the hubbub is about. Oh dear, it looks like Garraty number 47 has dropped his trousers and is attempting to relieve his bowels. All the while, the spectators are jeering and cheering. This is one of the obstacles that young folks don't consider when they enter this long walk. They usually focus on the idea of leg strength or stamina, but they don't count on the deadly level of embarrassment that can make the most basic human function feel like torture. But it looks like Garraty is in business. He has taken a warning, but he is pulling up. He's back on track, and he is, with a smile on his face, catching up with his companions, McVries and Baker. And what remains behind, well, you folks may or may not get a kick out of this, but you'll notice that the crowd is anxiously waiting. See, what's going on is that the spectators are hoping to have a chance to snatch up the excrement of number 47. For whatever reason, walker poop is one of the most sought-after forms of long walk memorabilia. And I see about half a dozen spectators putting on kitchen gloves, getting their Tupperware containers ready. These folks have come prepared. Oh, but their hopes have just been dashed as number 82, Glenn Reed, walking with his eyes closed, steps right into a big steamy pile of Garraty, and it is all over his sneaker, and only a smear remains on the asphalt. The spectators are groaning. There's really no souvenir worth keeping now. It's just a smear. It's a big disappointment for those fans, but what can you poo? Looks like some of the walkers are now gossiping with each other and pointing excitedly up to the vanguard. Based on what I can make with my limited lip-reading skills, it seems like Baker and the other boys have just realized that Joseph and Michael are brothers, and it's causing a lively debate about the pros and cons of allowing, two relatives to compete against each other in a death sport. But hey, it's a somewhat free country, right? Ferris number 16 is sneezing up a storm. He's hacking up several expectorations. Checking with my binoculars. See anything green? It looks like Scramm's illness is definitely contagious. Number 73, Pastor, still has enough energy for frivolity as he points out some of his favorite eccentricities in the crowd of spectators, and there's quite a lot from which to choose. We've got a lady who brought her pet raven to the parade, a drunken Uncle Sam, and an entire fraternity from the University of New Hampshire attempting to make a human pyramid. Ah, the merriment, the enthusiasm, the human comedy in all its glory is on display in the sidelines here. I hope these boys are able to reflect and appreciate the joy that their bravery creates. If only they could stop and smell the proverbial roses. But of course, there's no stopping now. The deep night is upon us. The boys are settling into another dark night of the soul. On this stretch of road, the fans are here and there, but we're out of the thick of it now, and the sounds of nature have returned. And now, I think it's the perfect time for us to pass the hours by reading the prize-winning essay from this year's applicants. This excerpt that I'm going to read to you is written by Jake Chambers, and you may notice that Jake is not here among the long walkers. That is very true. You see, shortly after submitting his essay, he was tragically hit by a car in the middle of New York City. He died instantly. It is awful that he couldn't be with us here today to take his chance on the road, but his memory will live on with this award-winning essay. Enjoy. My Understanding of the Truth by Jake Chambers. The gunslinger is the truth. Roland is the truth. The prisoner is the truth. The Lady of Shadows is the truth. The prisoner and the lady are married. That is the truth. The way station is the truth. The speaking demon is the truth. We went under the mountains, and that is the truth. There were monsters under the mountain. That is the truth. One of them had an Amoco gas pump between his legs and was pretending it was his penis. That is the truth. Roland, let me die. That is the truth. I still love him. That is the truth. When is a door not a door? When it's ajar, and that is the truth. Blaine is the truth. Blaine is the truth. What has 4 wheels and flies? A garbage truck, and that is the truth. Blaine is the truth. You have to watch Blaine all the time. Blaine is a pain, and that is the truth. I'm pretty sure that Blaine is dangerous, and that is the truth. What is black and white and red all over? Oh, my apologies. Let's pause for a moment to check on the walkers. Number 30, Owen Fields, just received a punch ticket along this gentle slope that turned out not to be so gentle, at least not for him. Now where were we? What is black and white and red all over? A blushing zebra, and that is the truth. Blaine is the truth. I want to go back, and that is the truth. I have to go back, and that is the truth. I'll go crazy if I don't go back, and that is the truth. I can't go home again unless I find a stone, a rose, a door, and that is the truth. Choo-choo, and that is the truth. Choo-choo, 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 choo-choo. I am afraid. That is the truth. Choo, choo. Makes perfect sense. Such wise words from a mind so young, taken away far too soon. We have been whiling away the hours, celebrating that essay and listening to the crickets. And all this time this evening we have only lost 1 walker. That seems like yet another record, but we'll have to check the books. Dawn is about to break, and it does seem that number 16's journey is about to come to an end. Ferris has recently stumbled into his 3rd warning. He is still sneezing. His fever has blazed through the night. And he does not have the same hardy constitution of Edwin Scramm, who is still grappling with his illness. And so this slender frame of number 16 has been ravaged by the virus. He has been dumping 1 canteen's worth of water, one right after another, all night long. But it is not enough. At this point, I don't think there's anything that can save Ferris. Well, my heart goes out to him and to any young man who gets their ticket punched right before sunrise. Number 16 does not get to enjoy this amazing view. But we do, folks, so let's not take for granted the preciousness of our lives. Not to mention the preciousness of our sponsors. Let's hear a word from them, shall we?
Good morning, children. This is a commercial for cereal. Listen to me carefully, please. I know a lot about cereals, because I am the Sharp Cereal Professor. Sharp cereals, Twinkles, Cocoa Bears, Brand 16, and Sharp All-Grain Blend are the best-tasting cereals in America. And they're good for you. Believe me, because I know. Your mom knows. I just thought you'd like to know, too. Nope. Nothing wrong here.
Sharp brand cereals contain red dye number 19, which may cause vomiting or the appearance of blood, but don't worry, it's not blood. Enjoy your cereal, children.
It is 5 minutes after 9 a.m., and the walkers have all received a new ration belt. Most of the lads have worked up a ferocious appetite, but some of the walkers don't seem hungry at all. Number 85 is just not interested in food. Scramm has been, of course, coughing all morning, and after Ferris got his ticket punched, Scramm is well aware that the same thing could happen to him. In contrast, Barkovitch has a healthy appetite as he scarfs down his chicken concentrate, chortling all the while. The menu for today is mostly the same as yesterday, with one exception. Everyone gets a chocolate bar, fresh from Hershey, Pennsylvania. And no surprise, most of these boys are not waiting to finish their breakfast before diving into dessert. The Sugar Rush has a few of them speed walking, like number 78, Quince, who actually dares to walk circles around Scramm. He's a little stinker. I'm surprised that we haven't noticed his mischievous nature before, but that might be due to the thinning of the herd. It gives room for some of the others to rise into prominence. And we are now 48 miles away from the city of Augusta. And as the sun continues to rise this morning, the throngs of spectators have doubled in size. Everyone wants to see these walking warriors. Droves of folks are reaching out, hoping for a single touch, even if it's just to scrape a bit of walker skin with their fingernails. So the boys are wisely sticking toward the center of the road. We've reached the point in the competition when some of the walkers realize they won't be living to see the end of this, and so now begins the negotiation stage. One boy might ask another to take care of a loved one, or to pay off a debt, or to seek revenge. There will ultimately be one winner amongst these heroes. So the boys destined to lose are hoping that their champion will grant them a wish or two after all of this is over. For the record, most winners have short memories when it comes to this sort of arrangement. Scramm is too exhausted to bother making such lofty requests, but it looks like McVries is taking up a cause on his behalf. I'm watching them converse through my binoculars, and it looks like he is asking others to help out Kathy, the soon-to-be widow by all estimations now. Number 61, McVries, is certainly the philanthropist of the group. Despite his petulant, moody side, you can tell if he had his way, he would spare the life of every walker out there, with one glaring exception, of course, Barkovitch. Still no love lost between these two, and McVries has chatted with just about everyone else this morning, so it looks like he's leaving the job to number 47, Garraty. Yes, Garraty has been tasked with the chore of speaking with Barkovitch. Garraty doesn't look happy to do so, but he's chatting with him, pointing to Scramm. And now Barkovitch, he begins to laugh uproariously for some reason. From what I can tell, he is devilishly amused to learn that Scramm has a wife, and a pregnant one at that. So Garraty moves away in disgust, but Barkovitch has a sudden change of heart. He's calling him back. Barkovitch is actually giving Garraty these pathetic puppy dog eyes. It looks like Barkovitch wants to make friends after all. I'm always amazed at the level of teenage drama that can take place while these boys maintain a brisk 4-mile-an-hour pace. Folks, just think of all the extra energy that is spent with these types of exchanges. That's why there's something to be said about the strategy of the inscrutable David Stebbins, number 88. He interacts as little as possible throughout this process. He saves his breath, and when he does speak, it seems to be for strategic purposes. The Mota brothers have the same strategy as well, except that they have been so far ahead of the pace for days. This is unlike Stebbins, who is usually at the tail end of the procession. He is exerting only the bare minimum each step of the way. Well, of course, now that I've said all of that, wouldn't you know it, it looks like Stebbins is now chatting with Garraty, who has dropped away from the desperate Barkovitch, moving back so fast that it has cost him a warning, and it looks like Garraty is passing along the same message to number 88 about Scramm. Meanwhile, it looks like Scramm is starting to catch on as to what these boys are talking about, and that seems to be waking him up a bit. He is increasing his pace, his posture has improved, and now Scramm is now approaching the vanguard, the Mota brothers. You know what? There may yet be life left in him after all. And we've asked our medical consultant to take a look at the walkers through the telephoto lens to determine if other competitors might have caught the virus that's been going around. And in their professional opinion, they detected symptoms in at least 3 other walkers. Number 63, number 53, and number 40. That's Montag, Huang, and one of the 2 remaining Fosters. It's just sniffles for now, but our consultant guesses that it will soon be getting a lot worse. Back to Stebbins, he's making me eat my own words. Did I say that he wasn't talkative? He has been delivering a monologue for the past 2 minutes. Well, just goes to show you, again, folks, that personalities transform along the way here at the Long Walk. And the boys are now reaching a dip in the road. McVries' sense of kinship seems to be just as contagious as the flu, apparently, because now there is a cluster of concerned walkers gathered around Scramm. Abraham, another good-natured soul among the group, he still seems like he is the de facto leader among them, and he and the others seem to be rallying Scramm, encouraging him, as if hoping that this athlete makes a dramatic comeback. And this type of behavior often baffles spectators, who will more than likely assume that by now walkers would hate each other. And that certainly does happen to some, but many of these boys, against their own self-interest, simply want to bring out the best in one another. The crowd is not always so benevolent. There have been more than a few insults hurled at Scramm. Some angry spectators are fueled by their poor gambling choices. A lot of money will be lost if Scramm doesn't remain the last one standing. Even the children are getting into the name-calling. Scramm is conferring with his cohorts. The mood of this group is very somber. We've got Abraham, Baker, Pearson, Garraty, and McVries walking together, all listening to Scramm dispense wisdom or maybe just dispense fuel-induced nonsense. I'm not sure which, but there's a lot of support amongst this group. And number 73, Bruce Pastor, is joining the cluster as well. And you can see the envy on the faces of every solo walker at this point. They all wish that they could be having this kind of close-knit sort of experience. Well, maybe not all of them. Up ahead, Quince is laughing about something. He's pointing out the Mota brothers. There's, number 66, Michael Mota is clutching his stomach. There's blood on his lips, yes. He's definitely spitting up blood. And his walking has suddenly become erratic. He's not bent over, though. He's just holding his stomach, trying to keep things together. And folks, in spite of the pain, these 2 are not slowing down. But this is definitely a sign that the vanguard is faltering, and that these Hopi brothers, as amazing as they've been, are simply flesh and blood after all. Barkovitch and Quince are both chortling over the brothers' misfortune. Then there's number 55, Jackson. He looks like he's been one of the soloists who has been keeping a low profile, but now he seems disgusted by the 2 bullies, and he tells them to shut up. Quince and Barkovitch sneer, but their laughter stops for now. And Jackson moves onward, headed for the Mota brothers, perhaps to check in on their status. Number 55 is even offering them some of his leftover rations, but the brothers politely decline. You know, every year this competition truly shows us that the kind people outnumber the cruel. Number 55 dropping back to deliver the news about the Motega's condition. He confers with Scramm's little cohort there. And now Scramm seems to be saying goodbye, I think, based upon the handshakes that he is giving to each of the boys around him. This is all rather ominous, or maybe momentous is the better word. In fact, now that he's leaving Abraham and the others behind, he's walking tall and he's headed up to the Motega brothers. So he actually looks like he has a second wind. But our medical expert has just handed me a note that says it looks like Edwin Scramm is experiencing something called terminal lucidity. This happens most often when hospital patients have been at death's door, basically incapacitated and or unresponsive. And then suddenly, they wake up, they rally, but soon after, they flatline. I'm not sure if that's a fair comparison to what's happening with Scramm right now. For the sake of the viewers at home who have bet their entire paycheck on Scramm, I'm hoping that our physician consultant is wrong, and that the fever has broken, and our moose-like friend on the interstate is still in it to win it. Scramm is now conversing with the Hopis. The brothers, as you may already know, are from New Mexico. Scramm hails from Phoenix, Arizona. Their homes are divided by hundreds of miles of desert, but the circumstances being what they are, I imagine that this trio is feeling downright neighborly right now. The soldiers are very attentive. These three are some of the strongest walkers remaining in the procession, and the soldiers do not want another Olsen mishap. As you recall, before he was shot several times, Number 70 had actually managed to disarm one of the Major's men, and I can assure you, these soldiers will not be letting that happen again. Nearly all eyes are up front. The boys are wondering what Scramm has in store, if anything. Even Stebbins looks curious. And now Joseph Motega is placing his hand on his brother's shoulder, a sign of farewell, I believe, as the injured Michael falls back, walking alongside Scramm now. Whoa, oh, the young men have pulled a sudden about-face. They are marching shoulder to shoulder towards the crowd. They get a first warning, and the spectators are backing away in fear because they know that if these boys try to escape, gunfire will erupt and casualties will ensue. Motega and Scramm reaching the guardrail, and they turn about again. This time they are standing before the half-track in defiance, and well, they are flashing the stereotypical sign of adolescent protest, both of them presenting their middle fingers. And Scramm is saying something about, we'll say something about a romantic encounter with one of the soldiers' mothers. It's not the most mature declaration, but it has all of the walkers cheering, and it has left the crowd quiet and stunned. They now have a second warning, and now I'm wondering if they are going to get back on track and back into this competition, or do they have something more that they want to say? Oh, they are sitting down. Well, that is an interesting choice. They're sitting in the middle of the road. Some of the crowd is booing. Most are breathless as Edwin Scramm and Michael Motega sit cross-legged, calmly facing each other, and they appear to be having a conversation, just a casual chat, while two soldiers hop off the half-track and stand by with their guns ready. Up ahead, number 65, Joseph Motega, is now the sole member of the vanguard. He does not look back to see what's going to happen. A last warning has been given. The other walkers are passing by this sit-in protest, if you will. They are giving mesmerized looks, to be sure, but no one is trying to change Scramm or Motega's minds. It looks as though Scramm, the odds-on favorite, has turned into a sucker bet, because unless something changes very quickly, it looks like Scramm and his new friend are giving up. But of course, that is their right. As we've seen before, some walkers prefer to go out on their own terms. And as Scramm and Motega continue to talk, I'm being told that the Hopi Indian is not even speaking English, which makes me wonder what on earth could they be saying to each other. Well, whatever words were exchanged, they will be taken with them to the grave. The 59th and the 60th tickets of the long walk have been punched. And I bet there are a lot of tickets being torn up at the casinos in Vegas and Atlantic City right about now. Scramm's name is being erased from the board, and that means Stebbins, though always bringing up the rear, takes the lead as the gambler's darling with 9-1 odds. The rest of the walkers are not looking back at their fallen comrades. They are moving onwards. And I expected to see a single tear roll down the face of Joseph Motega or some other emotional reaction to the loss of his brother. But the last Indian remains a model of stoicism. But what about the young men who had surrounded Scramm before his final stand? It's subtle. But if you look closely through our telephoto lens, you can see that each young man is marked with a sense of relief. Edwin Scramm, a moose of a man, the grown-up of the group with a wife at home and a kid on the way. Number 85 is dead. And now, no matter what the bookies say, it is anybody's game. But of course, this isn't a game at all. It is the long walk. And there's nothing else like it in the world. That's why you better keep watching, America, so you can find out what happens next. Stay tuned.